Hello and welcome to this review of my Acer KB-101A. It was made on September 7th, 1988 in Taiwan, and despite its age, I got it 100% unused recently as part of a trade in exchange for my old Cherry MX Blue keyboard. Now, after I made a video review of that keyboard, I got a lot of offers for it in quick succession, so it turned out to be a lot more popular than I thought it would be. But I settled on this as the best offer. Frankly, I still can't believe how lucky I got, because this board is extremely valuable and quite rare, let alone in unused condition. There's no dust in it, no scratches or marks on it of any kind, and frankly, I genuinely think I got the best of this trade, so I'm extremely pleased with this. Because it's so old, it still has the old Acer logo on it with a capital letter and this little figure here. The current Acer logo doesn't look as elegant in my opinion, and it's all in lowercase, and it doesn't have that little figure next to it. Somewhat unusually, it has 4 indicator lights instead of 3, the standard 3 lock lights and a power button. And the build quality of the keyboard is excellent. Like most old Alps boards, it has a metal mounting plate in here, under here, and the case is made out of thick, sturdy plastic. Really quite tough, definitely a nice design. There's little to no flex in the case, and it makes barely no noise when you try to twist it or anything, so quite well constructed. The rear side of the keyboard reveals a nice high quality cable gutter with as many as 5 exits, 1 on each side and 3 more or less in the middle. And here you can see the flip out feet, nice design. It has rubber non-slip pads. As you can see, they are completely pristine, totally unused, except for my use, obviously. And here's the model sticker of the keyboard. Again, looks still very clean. KB-101A, made in Taiwan, Republic of China. It uses a 5-pin DIN connector, which is set at an angle of 90 degrees relative to the cable. That's good, because that way it doesn't take up as much space behind your computer as it would if it were a straight connector. I know that not all KB-101As have this angled connector, some have straight ones, but this one does. The cable itself is pretty short. I'd say it's less than 1 meter in length altogether, but it's fairly thick, and it has a coiled cable in the middle, so it stretches quite well. Being unused, it still comes with the plastic wrapping over the cable, which is a nice memento, I guess. The keyboard is XT80 switchable, but it doesn't really have a traditional XT80 switch. Instead, it has this thing, which has 3 settings, which are labeled 1, 2, and 3 instead of X and A. Fortunately, I have the original booklet with it, and here it shows that position 1 is enhance XT, 2 is AT, and 3 is XT. So 2 is the position we want, and that's what it's set in at the moment. The keycaps are made out of ABS and have dye-sublimed legends printed on them. They're fairly thin, but they're still quite nicely made, and they're completely matte, as they haven't been used at all. And for the same reason, the white keycaps are still, fortunately, completely white. The switches it uses are Alps SKCM Blue switches. Complicated blue Alps. I know the camera makes the slider look very blue, but actually it's a lot grayer than it appears on this camera. They're clicky switches, and in fact the Alps' original clicky switch design, later they were replaced by complicated white Alps, and then came simplified white Alps, and then a whole bunch of clones, and with every generation the quality of these switches decreased a little bit. Now, as these are the original and weren't manufactured to a cost, these are consistently some of the most highly rated switches in existence. They're quite rare as well, so they will fetch a great price, whatever board they're found in. Even shitty donor boards will fetch £80, and a good board will fetch considerably more. The switches are extremely smooth and have a very clean feel. There's absolutely no scratchiness to them at all. And the tactile feeling is very nice and snappy and feels very high quality in general. And the sound is also gorgeous. I'll give you a little demonstration of that. As I mentioned earlier, at some point the blue Alps switches were replaced with complicated white Alps switches, and fortunately I've also got a keyboard with them, this old Ciccone keyboard. This happens to be in almost as good a condition as the Acer is, so I can draw fairly good comparisons between the two. Now, these complicated white Alps switches are great. I would recommend these to anybody who likes clicky switches. But when you compare these to the blue switches, it is immediately noticeable that the white Alps switches do feel a little bit more scratchy and are not as clean in feel as the blue Alps switches. So I would definitely say the blue Alps switches are of a high quality. And the sound is also a little bit different. I'll show that to you here. And that's what white Alps switches sound like. And compared to the blue Alps, you can tell that the white Alps switches are a bit more high-pitched and a bit louder. I'd say the blue Alps sound a bit nicer, but that's not to say that the white Alps don't sound great, though. They sound very nice. Here, I'll compare the two quickly. If I had to describe the key feel of these blue Alps switches, I would say they feel very much like white Alps, but with the delicateness of Monterey blue switches, and with a smoother and cleaner key feel than either, and with a better sound. Overall, this is easily the best keyboard I've ever tried. The build quality is outstanding, and the switches are sublime. I prefer them over any other switch I've tried so far, including buckling springs, other Alp switches, and any Cherry switches. It's great fun to type on, even though it's probably too loud to use in an open office, and the smoothness of the switches lends itself quite well to gaming too. So yeah, I love this keyboard. Get one if you get a chance at one for not too excessive a price, and I can assure you, you won't regret it. That's the end of my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.